with Expansion Network. Welcome everybody to Expansion Network, accelerating the consciousness of humanity every single day. And we are here again today with our beloved Daisy Papp. Hi, Daisy, how are you?
Hello, dear Angel. Thank you for taking your time and thank you for inviting me to converse again. And thank you
to
the audience.
We are here again at the show. It's time. And today, when she told me the title for today, for the conversation we're going to have, it's time to go back to the present. And I loved it. As soon as I heard it, I loved it because it's time to go back to the present. And there's so many things that relate to us and so many things that we have forgotten about the present. So, Daisy, why do you think that in general, we have forgotten so much about the present and we're too concerned about either the past or the future?
I think it has to do with being human. So it is one of our traits that we have. And in addition to that, the more the fear-mongering becomes louder and louder, that is then when we forget about the present moment, because we then start being so concerned about tomorrow and after tomorrow and next week, next month, next year, next decade, next century. And when we come back to the present and we realize that the present moment is all we have, there's a reason why linguistically it's called the present, because it's a gift. It's the only gift we have. Is the present moment. If the present moment's not here, then nothing exists. So the past is already over. The future's not here yet. I can wonder and be concerned about the mistakes I made in the past and the mistakes I will be making now, maybe in this show or next month or next year. But actually, all I can really take action in is the present moment. And when we start noticing that the present moment is the only moment we always have, and I rarely generalize, I think it gives us big freedom.
And you touched upon something really, really good that most of the people, I think that they get entrenched in, which is what is a mistake? I mean, what is really a mistake? Does it really exist? Do mistakes exist? Why do we consider those mistakes a mistake? Are they really mistakes, Daisy?
Well, I think someone listened to my podcast, Bald and Blonde, because we have an episode on that, and the title is Mistakes Do Not Exist. I believe mistakes do not exist in the beginning. Why? Because I think they are offered lessons to be learned, and only when we say we reject learning it, or we don't want to learn it, or we are stubbornly holding on to something else, only then they can grow into a mistake. But I think really, when I look back 5 years ago, did I make a mistake? No, it was a lesson to be learned and I learned it. And now I'm in a new class. So once I had a check marked, I do not need to relearn it because I remember my lesson.
Exactly, and it's not only that that we remember the lessons, but also that we are being told, right around us, we are being told that specific things are mistakes. When in reality, a mistake is like it has this like negative connotation to it, right? It has this negative, feeling, even an emotion, right? So you feel wrong. I try to, it's funny how the other day I was having this very same conversation with someone, and instead of asking that person, how would you do that, or how could you have prevented that mistake from happening, is if you were to go back in time, what would you do differently? Which is a completely different thing, right? You're not pointing out at a specific mistake, but you're rather asking, and analyze, go back, analyze, but analyze from the present. Again, you were going back to the present, Daisy. So what's your experience? What has been your experience about this?
Well, I agree with you. It's a very good point to point out that words matter, because wherever our focus goes, everything grows. Meaning, when I focus on the word bad, then I will see bad more often, more frequently, at more places, and I will feel bad. Why? Because words have an impact. So the words we think or speak have an impact on how we feel. How we feel has an impact on how we behave, what actions we take. So when we start choosing different words and become more aware of the words we're choosing now in the present moment, then we will have a different outcome. And you know, you just brought it up because I see you have these beautiful triangles there behind your back and your background. And I'm picking up my famous green paper and I show you something, what I used to do with my clients. I don't know if you can see it well.
Yes, we can.
I like triangles. And when we have a look at this, so here are the words spoken or thought. And here are the feelings. So feel, and here's the action. And when we have a look at it, words lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions. Now, when we have a look at the summary, meaning the present moment, because the present is a subtotal of everything we thought, everything we felt, everything we took action upon or did not take action, because not taking action is actually also an action, right? So when we have a look at the present moment, it's a subtotal of these three things as well. So when I don't like the summary, the present moment where I'm at right now, when I then choose changing the words I'm using and I become more aware of them, I will feel differently and therefore I will take different actions. So the outcome will be different.
And do you think that we as humans, we still keep intact that power within us to take a different action in a given moment in time?
Yes, we do. I'm certain about that. Nevertheless, we're very brainwashed. I include myself. And we're very, very manipulated. I include myself. Now, we can undo that little by little and at least become aware of it. And when we become aware of it, look, I'm noticing it. I speak with many people around the globe, very, very different cultural backgrounds. And interestingly, what I'm observing is that the language is changing. Language changed over the decades and over the centuries as well. But what's going on in the past 15, 10, 5 years is incredibly visible. And when we have a look that we're losing specific words, so we can no longer use them in the present. Why? Because we don't know any longer what they mean, what they're defined as, then in the present moment, we are actually lacking vocabulary. Now, English is not my first language, but I like English a lot. And of course, I like to communicate with people from around the globe through this language. But let's have a look at the words that we're losing or that were no longer in the present. Because I think it is important to redo what was done and grab them out and dig them out again. Because when we're losing language, how will I be able to express myself precisely or more precisely when I'm lacking vocabulary? When I say, yeah, how are you doing? Oh, I'm good. How's that at all describing how I'm doing? Zero. So when we then go back, well, I feel flamboyant, I feel excitement, I feel fabulous because of and due to, then that is how we then can, again, start connecting amongst another, human to human, because we're using language to connect.
You're tapping onto something really important, but I really would like you to help our audience to understand this better because, okay, we understand that the words have a power. So if that's the case, and then you mentioned manipulation. If that's the case, what are the words that we are using, we shouldn't be using, or how do we learn to use or to pick the right words? Because I mean, I guess this is a skill. This is something that has to be learned. How can we do that, Daisy? Then this is really like a huge new perspective that is opening, before us, Daisy.
Well, Angel, I think first I'd like to clarify that I am not in the position to tell anyone what they should be doing. What I can offer is curiosity. I may pique their curiosity that then may evolve into interest, and then they take action to take some research time. I think the first step that we can take is start defining the words you're using every day. For example, oh yeah, how are you doing? Oh, that's cool. What's your definition of cool? Cool, actually cool, is that not related to temperature? Is it really cool right here now? Or is it well tempered in the room? Or is it turning winter? Or is it summer? Or is the heat on? Or the AC? So what are we trying to express with a simple word as cool? And let's start replacing the cool with words that are more accurately describing what's really going on. I can give you an example. I had a lady I was friendly with. She was from Texas as well. And she was reading a new phrase of mine or a new book manuscript, or she saw a piece of my art, or she was listening to something that I created in the past, because we were talking in the present moment. And at that present moment, I did not create anything besides being in the present. And she says, wow, that's crazy. And my definition of crazy is almost insulting, because it shows that maybe some screws are loose, or so I found it very unkind, and I felt almost offended. So I asked her, Lisa, what is your definition of crazy? Well, when it's awesome, when I find it really crazy, cool, and amazing. So then we led her to describe a little bit more precise what's happening within her, how she felt, that when she was able to feel what she felt in the present moment, she was able to pick and choose more precise words describing accurately what she actually meant. Because when we as humans want to understand one another and connect, then I think precise language is important in the present. What we did in the past, and that maybe some people use noise pollution words, cussing and so I'm a little allergic to that. And when we start acknowledging, okay, so this is how I used language in the past, but now I choose consciously to define the words I'm using frequently. And then when you speak to someone, interacting with someone, and they say, oh, that is really such an awesome thing. Well, what are you trying to say? Help me understand, invite them. And the connection already is established in the present.
That's excellent. I really like the way that you express it, the way you explained it. Go back to, actually, I would love to go back to your triangle, because by the way, one of these days we're gonna have to teach the audience how to write upside down and it's still making sense, because that's another skill that you have. And you mentioned also the artistic part of Daisy Papp, that we will talk about this also some other day. But let's go back to that triangle, because I think it's extremely important. If you wouldn't mind, showing it.
Okay.
Again,
you want me to? I show it again.
Yeah, show it again. Okay. Yeah, the drawing that you just exactly. So we go from words
to
feelings and to actions. Yes, absolutely. We can see it here. So good. when you said, okay, so we should be more cautious about, or more aware of what the words we use. But then let's say that we are so used to using the same words all the time, over and over again, that probably, we are, let me put it this way. Okay. So I'm just going to play evil's advocate here. So let's say that we are too late for changing the words. It's too hard. Those neuronal connections are too hard to be changed. Let's go back to the feelings. Let's go to the feelings. Okay. So which is the next step? How could we then change the feelings that we associate to those words, but ourselves? Because in the situation, it's the scenario that you depicted, you asked the question, you were smart and kind enough to ask this lady what crazy meant. But what about ourselves? How can we actually change the feeling that we associate to words, Daisy?
Well, okay, you get another green paper. I turn it around. Let's do it. Let's use a short word. And what I would do, for example, let's use the word bad. Bad. And what is your definition of bad? Give me a few words. What do you think is bad?
Well, let me tell you actually a very great example about that. How is everything going? A very common response is not too bad. You see?
Exactly. That's how it's used. Yes. So it's totally abused.
And actually it's ambiguous, right? Because you don't really understand if things are going like into a better or into the better, or they're going into the worse, right?
Yes. So actually, if somebody says not too bad, and excuse me, please, dear audience, it is a lie. Because they don't say what they mean and they don't mean what they say. So, but let's use the word bad. What does bad mean to you? Describe it. How do you define bad?
Something that doesn't meet the standards of good that I was taught when I was a kid and at home, and what when I was going to church, and what the teachers would tell me.
Low standard?
Or different from the standards of good, I would say. For me, bad is really related to the standards of good that I was taught when I was a kid.
Okay. What else? How do you define bad?
Crime.
Crime. Okay.
A crime is bad. It's like,
okay.
Yeah, pain. When I don't feel good, it's painful. I have this.
Okay, that's how you describe it, but you're using it as pain is bad, and crime is bad. So it's actually crime. When we want to be correct, crime is bad. That's what you're saying, if I understand correctly. Correct?
And pain, the same thing.
And pain is bad. But now my question is, what is bad? How do you define bad?
Well, I should go to the dictionary to see that.
You see. So now you see, we're using words. That is all I wanted to bring as a point. We're using words frequently without knowing what they are or what they mean. Now, when we want to feel differently about a word, very simple skill that we can use. We use the word bad. And now we use, what is a good word that is the opposite of bad, or a positive thing of bad? For example, maybe it's not a good word. Maybe we choose another one. Lack. Let's choose lack. Let's see where that brings us. What is lack? And now when I don't know how to define it, I'm choosing words that start with the letter L first. For example, lack means low, for example, low income or low energy.
Or loss.
Or what is lack?
Or a loss.
Loss. Super. Okay.
That's a great exercise. Let me tell you, I'm enjoying this exercise.
Okay. So what's another word? Give me one more. A word that starts with L that explains lack.
Less.
Super. Okay. Now let's go to the A. A word that starts with A that is related to, that describes lack.
Absence.
Okay. Absence. Okay, another one.
By the way, to the audience that is listening to this conversation, amazing conversation today. I love it when the rubber hits the road, and I think we're doing it today. That wasn't prepared. I had no idea. I had no idea that Daisy was going to put me on the spot like this, but I play along, no worries.
But I didn't plan that either. It happened.
It just happened
through our conversation in the present.
Exactly.
So another word is maybe a lack. Can be also maybe
anti.
Okay, yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Anti. Exactly. What else?
Okay.
Almost,
how about abandoned?
Almost.
Also. Okay, I take your words then. Okay, almost.
I love
now
this.
A word with C that refers to lack.
Mm-hmm. What else? I would say C. I don't know. That's a difficult one. C.
Let me help you. Maybe with cruel. Lack can be cruel.
Can be cruel. Yeah. It
can be compromised.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or
scent, literally scent, C-E-N-T, because it's it's the scent part, it's the centesimal part, the 100th part of something, right?
Scent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What else?
We could go to
cringe.
Cringe. Oh, okay.
Cringe.
Cringe. Okay.
What else?
We could go to the cold, because cold is the
Yeah.
lack of warmth. Okay. So, and now give me a few words with K, that's not easy. I get it, but something that could start with K. And if not, dear listeners and dear audience, you can do that yourself and really open up a dictionary. But now, let's say when I hear the word of lack, when I hear the word of lack, let's say I respond emotionally, I feel down, I feel heavy, I feel nervous, I feel anxious, I feel suppressed, I feel depressed, whatever it is that I feel when it comes to lack. And now I am going to turn the page literally, and I'm going to write the word down again. And this time I'm going to seek for words that are the same, starting with the letter L, that are positive. For example, I'm just going through it quickly. L can be love. It has not to do with the lack. I rewrite the meaning. Luxury. Okay. Luxury. A is amazing, for example.
Abundance.
Okay. Amazing. Abundant. Abundance. Abundance. Then a word with C, that is great. Creative. How about that?
Yeah.
Maybe another one. How about conscious?
Yeah, conscious is good.
Conscious. So you see now that I have words to the letters, giving a different meaning though to the lack. Let's say lack of stress creates more love, creates more luxury, creates more creativity, creates more consciousness, abundance, and it's amazing. That is then when I can rewrite the way how I naturally on autopilot would feel when I hear the word lack. So that is how we can change it. Now, there's one more thing that I'd like to give that is the fastest way. When we don't like how we feel, change your physiology. Why? Have you ever seen somebody who's depressed like that? Never in your life. Have you ever seen a super happy person, super happy human, super happy child sitting like that? Probably not. So let's say I feel like this. Oh, it didn't happen. No, I was waiting. Change your physiology. Move. Make some jumping jacks. When you change your physiology, it's impossible to remain in the same state of mind or state of mood. Back to the triangle. Whichever we change is going to shift it all. It's like in the Swiss watch. Tiny, tiny little wheels. When you move one, all move.
It comes, the word that's coming to me right now, Daisy, is predictable, right? So you're basically telling me that in order to regain this power that we have lost for many reasons, and it's so difficult for us to go back to the present, is because we are basically behaving and acting on a predictable way. Would it be accurate, Daisy?
Very often times we do act in a predictable way. Why? Because we're on autopilot. We don't even know what we're doing, why we're doing it. I mean, I know of humans, they come home from work, they feed the dog, are on the phone, check their emails, the TV is on, and in the meantime, they cook dinner, and all of a sudden, 15 minutes later, the table is set. They have no idea what they were doing, why they were doing what they were doing. That's traumatic. And I tell you why. Because they're losing the present moment. They're not in the present moment. So let's come back to the present moment and notice there is always something good to be found. There's always something beautiful to be found. And I know of somebody who's very dear to me who who recently had an accident, and he was very ill and laying in bed, and he's very active. And actually, even in these moments, it was possible to find something that was good and beautiful. For example, he could have lost both his legs. No, they just were broken, but he took a little time out. So when we start focusing in the present moment on what is pleasant, what brings us feel-good feelings, that inspires us, ignites us to take action that we enjoy in the present, and then we are aware of it, we will live a very, very present moment and finally receive the gift, which is the present moment.
I totally love this conversation. And actually, the final question I would like to ask you, because we've had already several shows before, and I always like to connect with what we have seen before. And we had this amazing, book of yours that you mentioned a few times in the previous interviews about, the Homo sapiens isolators, right? And how we are unfortunately being isolated willingly or unwillingly. We as human beings, we are isolating more from one another, or we're isolating ourselves more. So how would you say that this lack of going back to the present is actually forcing us to be more and more isolated from one another, Daisy?
Well, I'm very courageous here, and I blame a little bit, although usually I'm not blaming, but I blame the media. Why? Because the media is like a shower of information. Lots of stimuli is coming in, and keeps us busy. So if we were bored after a while, let's say there's no media for 1 week, after a while, we may look out the window, or we may even go out the door and look if the neighbors are out. So when we reduce the stimuli, we will be inspired to connect more. So I think it's a good idea to switch off the TV more often than not. And, the smart device in our hands, and really connect again. Why? Even the written word has a totally different power than a spoken word. And I'd like to add something here, that when I say a word, my sound box is resonating, isn't it? And it's creating some frequencies. When you ever been in a studio, or you who is doing audio as well and recordings, you know that then it's visible. You can make the voice visible. But when I speak, it's not only you hearing it, but it's me feeling it. Everyone who is watching us or who is listening to us, when you just gently put your hand here on your throat or a little bit below, and speak, you will notice, oh, wow, so I'm actually sending out frequencies while I'm speaking. And when we become more aware of that, maybe it will be nice and taking the courage to connect with one another, because we humans are definitely not an isolation-made species. We are not someone who is made to live on a remote island all by themselves. Maybe there are some individuals who are enjoying that, but the general public does not. So just say, no, I'm not going to be isolated. I'm going to connect more. And I'm going to maybe invite and inspire others to, hey, so what you just said, what's your definition of that? And all of a sudden you're already in a conversation, and maybe you start liking the other one. Maybe you even meet up for a cup of tea, or you go for a walk together, or you exchange phone numbers, or you go and plan on a big family festivity. I don't know, you don't know, but in the present moment, there are so many possibilities and opportunities. When we are isolated, we are also isolating ourselves from all these beautiful opportunities and possibilities. So I think humbly.
Excellent. Let's remind the audience, Daisy, let's remind the audience the title of the book and where they can find it, please.
Okay, so the easiest way is to go to daisypapp.com, DAISYPAPP.com. You can instantaneously download the book, The Island Model, Homo Sapiens Isolatus, that's how I say it, but isolatus. So you can find it there. You can find my podcast at baldandblonde.live. You can find it on all sorts of media where you can consume podcasts. And well, you Google my name and you will find a lot of information, because I'm around since a while and there is many information you can find.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I can say myself, it's very easy to find Daisy Papp online, very, very easy. And you will find all her work. And again, I like to call her a Pandora box herself, because every time we talk, there's something else. There's a new edge of Daisy that I didn't know about, and then that's definitely amazing. So thank you very much, Daisy Papp, for being with us with Expansion Network one more week. We really appreciate being with us today, and we really appreciate that you shared your knowledge and your wisdom with our audience.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you for your interest.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Much love to all.
Thank you very much. And again, as usual, thank you very much for being here with us with Expansion Networks. As you know, I'm known here in the US as the CEO Confident, and in Latin America as the President and co-founder of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation. And thank you for being with us today. I'm sure that you have enjoyed this conversation with Daisy Papp as much as we have. Be ready for the next show with her. It's time to, we'll see what's time to the next time that we meet. And thank you very much. Have a lovely rest of the Friday and have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.